the lessons or the messages, series of messages we've been preaching the last several months about the detours in the Bible. I believe this is one we really take heed to. And I'm going to read a lot of scripture so you don't have to stand when I'm reading it tonight, because it's about 18 verses we're going to read. And then we're going to go into and share with you why I know God wants us to share with you tonight. Verse number 1 of Genesis 22. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Here, behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and there offer him there for a burnt offering unto me upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abram rose up early in the morning. Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass and took two of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went to the place of which God had told him. And then on the third day Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abram took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went, both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself for a lamb, a burnt offering. So they went, both of them together. And when they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. And he said, Lay not thy hand upon thy son, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by the stone horns. And Abraham went and looked at the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah-Jireh, and it is said today, In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, But by myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, in blessing I will bless thee, and multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the star of heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Talking about the different detours in the Bible, I think this is probably one of the most intriguing ones of it all, the detour. Some detours in our life we need to understand. They're to test our faith, to test us, our obedience, and our submission to God. We see here Abraham. And we also see here Abraham, how he submitted unto God, what God had told him to do. He was obedient because he had a very critical and crucial detour that God had put him on. I'm talking about that detour of submission. God, in his goodness and his grace, he blessed us. But there's times every child of God will be tested by God to prove how submissive you are to God. That is one thing I've seen in a lot of, in our church and other churches. People are not just committed or submitted to God anymore. I mean, they have the head knowledge. They come and go through the motion, but they're not committed or submitted. And God, in His goodness, may do you like He did Abraham. He may put you to test your submission unto Him. See, many people, if you will not submit unto God, God will never, ever bless you the way He wants to bless you. So we see here, and we realize this act of submission in Abraham and how he did. It affected the entire world, his act of submission. So I want to preach a little bit tonight on the detour of submission. Submitting. The detour of submission. Now we see here, and we're going to focus most of all of it on Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son Isaac. And I would say this, and I probably said it in the message too. Even though Abraham did not go through, God didn't allow Abraham to go through and slay his son on the altar. But I believe this, in the eyes of God, Abraham did do that. Because he was willing. Had not the angel of God called out from heaven and stopped him, I believe with all my heart, Abraham would have went on through it. He would. Talking about submission. To submit to someone else's will. Everybody has to submit to somebody. On your job, you have supervisors that you have to listen to and submit to. And we see here in the Word of God how Abraham was put on that detour submission, one of the most crucial times in Abraham's life. Because he was called upon to give up his only son. And he was willing and able to do that. He was obedient to do that. But we see here, if we look here in verse 1, we see here Abraham's availability. It said, it came to pass out of these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, behold, here I am. Wait just a minute, turn this fan on. But we see here tonight, you got to realize one thing. When God tempted, that word tempted does not mean tempted with evil. That word simply means tested or proved. So we see here, Abraham had never been faced with this type of detour. And God tested and he was going to prove, let Abraham prove his obedience and his submission to him. Many times in the Word of God, you realize, we'll see, we've talked about how Abraham had been tested, and have many times how God told Abraham to go out of his land. Not even know where he was going to go. Abraham did that, didn't he? But all these things that Abraham had to face, God was preparing him for this, the climatic part of it. All his life is this detour of submission. If a man or a woman, whoever may be, never submits to God truly and fully, they'll never be used of God in no way. And that's exactly what we need to see this tonight. God knows what He's doing. He knew what He's doing when He tempted to test to try. He tried and proved, or he proved or tested here Abraham. He knew what He was doing. A detour, when you're on a detour, that means you're taken from the normal setting of your life to something not so normal. And that's exactly what Abraham was here. Detour submission. It may be different things in our life that God wants us to go on the detour of submission. And if you're not willing to do that, hang it up and say, hey, God, you might well say, God, I don't want to be used because I'm not going to listen to what you say. So you see, here we see his availability. He was able, God knew God, he was available to God. He loved God. Abraham, you read the Word of God. Amen. Abraham was the only one in the whole Bible that God called his friend. That's right. God called him this. God, I believe one of the New Testament books, I can't really remember it right now, but said he was a friend of God. Amen. Amen. So we see here, he was put on a detour of submission. And God may put you in a test in your life to see if you're submitting his will. And Lord, help you to pass that test. Amen. Whatever it may be. Now we see here God told him what to do. God said, I want you to take your son. He said, I want you to take it. And I want you to take your only son. I want you to go to the mountain of Moriah, or the mountain I'll tell you where to stop at, and I want you to sacrifice him unto me, a burnt offering unto me. Now we want to see here. He had told him that. Look at verse 3. It amazes me, Abraham did not argue with God. He didn't try to talk God out of it. But the Bible says he rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him and Isaac his son and clave the wood for the burnt offering and rose up and went into the place which God had told him. Abraham waited a long time for a boy, for a son. He waited a long time to have a child. And now God was saying, I gave you this boy, and now I want you to offer him up as a burnt offering to me. So you see here, you know what that meant? That meant God said, I want you to take him, put him on the altar and kill him. See what he was going to do? Actually, he was going to cut his throat. That's what the first thing they did when they put an offering on the altar. They would cut his throat and bleed him out. Then they'd cut up the meat, cut up pieces, and offer him on the altar for a burnt offering unto God. That was a huge change in Abraham. Abraham thought his plans were going to be. That's exactly what a detour is. Someone said a detour is an unexpected event that surfaces in our lives and tend to change our path and direction. That's what a detour was. God said, I want you to take your son. Detours change the normal things in life and lead us into the unknown things in life, or the known things of our life and lead us into unknown things of our life. So we see here, we understand God was testing his submission. Next time you go through a trial, go through a test, and God may want you to see how committed and submitted you are to him. Be a lot of us would try to question God, try to talk right at him. Might have been a lot of us who followed today. Not Abraham. Show what kind of man Abraham was. He didn't hesitate. He got up the next morning and headed out to the mountain where he was supposed to offer his son. You know why he complied to what God wanted him to do? Because he had an obedient spirit. There's people today, God shows them in their life some changes and things they need to make things better for themselves, but they're not willing to make a change. Abraham, he did not hesitate. Even though he did not like it, he loved his son. He did not want to give up his son, but he loved God more, and he submitted unto God, and he did exactly what God told him to do. He didn't question God about it. How many times God wants you to do something you weren't really comfortable doing, and you question God, and you try to question him and talk him out of it? Not Abraham. He didn't question him at all. You know what he learned? He learned this. He learned in order to have peace with God, you need to obey him at every cost. That's why people are so miserable. They're miserable. They got so much world in them and they've got so distant from God. And God shows them what He wants them to do, and they resist. And they're miserable. That showed how important it was for the Father's direction, God's direction in His life. And that's what God tried to show him. He's trying to show this in the Scripture to us too. Abraham had the right attitude. That's the attitude we all ought to have. No matter what comes our way, we need to make our mind up this. To do what God tells us to and just trust Him. Even though it might make us swallow some pride we have. Even though it might make us get rid of those things or do things that we wouldn't want to do because of our pride. But Abraham's attitude, Lord, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. I may not understand it, but I'm going to do it anyway because you said so. Job said, though He slay me, yet will I trust Him. But I will maintain mine own way before Him. You know what He's saying? Whatever God puts on me, if He slay me, though He slay me, I trust Him. But one thing about it, I'm going to maintain my ways. I'm going to keep serving God. No matter how bad or how sad it may seem, I'm going to do it. See, a lot of us, we serve God on feelings. Things going well for them, we're willing to submit to God. But what if things ain't going so well for us? Oh, we're willing to say, Lord, I don't understand it, Lord, it's hurting. But God, I'm going to do it anyway because you said so. You remember when I was a little boy? You wouldn't do like some of these rebels, little rebel youngins today. The mom and daddy tell them to do something now, and they'll say, why? I never had that much nerve to ask my daddy and mama why. But a lot of people do God like that. God tell you, I want you to straighten up your life, do this and do that to make things better, make your life better. And you say, why? God don't know you or me, the one, an explanation of why. Abraham, you know what? He had attitude, Lord. He said, though you slay me, you may kill me, but Lord, I'm going to maintain my way. If you do it, I'll die maintaining my ways, he said. Psalm 23:4 says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. What did he decide? He said, look. He said this, no matter what comes our way, I'm not going to jump ship. See, God will fare with the Christians tonight. Oh, the bills get behind, or you get discouraged, or about that, you ready to bail on God. We need to understand this. There's going to be winds in their life. There's going to be rain in their life. There's going to be waves in their life. There's going to be hard times in their life. There's going to be times you can't feel God in their life. But the best thing you do when you can't feel it, just faith Him and go on. Amen. I'll guarantee you one time, sometime low part of your life, you feel as though you can't feel God. He's there, but you get so low you feel like you don't. But you know what, Job said? You know what here? Abraham didn't understand it. He had that attitude. He didn't understand it. I guarantee you, he really broke his heart. You may read this and seem like you say, well, it looks like Abraham didn't really care for his son. Hey, Abraham loved his son. But one of the reasons, one thing else, he loved his son, but he loved God more than his son. And that's where a lot of folks are. They put God second to their family, and that ain't the love of God second to the love of their family. That ain't right. Love God first, then put your family second. But look here, we need to adopt the attitude, Lord. I don't know why you got to here, why you let me go through this. Some of you have been through drastic times. I guarantee Sister Mary, when Brother Earl died, you wonder, Lord, why you let me go through this? But you maintained the way, didn't you? And that we don't understand when the heartaches and tears and the heartbreak and the disappointments and the betrayals and everything else come, we don't understand it, but we've got to have attitude. God, you put me to it, took me to it, and you'll bring me through it. Amen? Amen. So we see here. Look what Isaac said, his evaluation of Isaac, what he said. He asked his daddy this, his father this. And Isaac spake unto Abraham and his father and said, my father. And he said, here I am, my son. And he said, behold the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering? When he got there to Mount Moriah, he left his two servants and said, you stay here. I, the lad, will go forth and worship, come back. This is the first time in the Bible that the word worship is mentioned. And he said, look, Abraham had everything in order, had the knife, the fire, the wood. But one thing was missing, the lamb. Now, it goes to read this, Abraham did not inform Isaac of what was going to happen. Isaac did not know that his daddy was going to take him to that mount to sacrifice him. But on the shade something, when Isaac said, Father, it's evident in the question he asked his daddy. He said, Father, where's the sacrifice for the burnt offering? Now, they say Abraham was probably, Abraham was 100 years old when he was born. And they say Isaac was probably during this time, was probably in his teen years. Abraham was an old man. But and Isaac was a young boy, but he was old enough to know that a burnt offering required a sacrifice. He knew that. So we see here, he said, can you see that? Just give a picture in your mind. I can see him now, Daddy. I know you got the fire there, you got the wood and the knife. But Daddy, we've got to have a burnt offering. Where's it at? And we see here, we understand that Abraham, even though he was going there to sacrifice his son, he went there in the spirit of worship. Abraham told Isaac said, look, my son, the Lord will provide himself a sacrifice. Now you can take that two ways. Either the Lord himself, in other words, he's going to provide it, or the Lord himself at the top typify Christ, the crucifixion of Christ. Because look at this, the Father and Son were going to the mountain. And the Calvary, Jesus was going to Calvary. The Father looked down on every step. He was right there with him all the way. But you understand, he said the evaluation he had. We're talking about worship. This was a type of worship. This burnt offering was a type of worship. We need to determine to worship God and not get sidetracked and quit. We go by our feelings a lot of times. If we don't feel like worshiping, we won't. But after that, what we need to worship Him anyway. Like Preacher Gilman said, you ought to praise God on credit if you have to, amen. Don't let the devil rob you of your worship. Even though you're going through the mud and the mire of your life, and you're going through hard times and dark times and rough times and discouraging times and disheartening times. Amen. When you feel like you can't go on, worship Him anyway. I tell you what, you do that, you'll be sure be glad you did worship Him. There's some things you have to things in worship that you gotta practice before. You know, in our life all the time. If you worship God, true worship, I'm talking about true worship. Now, first of all, self-control. You got to learn to control yourself, learn how to obey God. You got to learn to do what He says. Abraham learned from experience, amen. His mistakes and put God's commandments above his own reason. That's what we do. Our reasoning sometimes gets us in a whole lot of trouble, friend. But Abraham worshiped. He said, I'm going to do what God said, and put things out of our life that hinder us from worshiping, putting God's will first over your will. That's what the basic thing is. And many people struggle with that day by day. They say they rebel against God. They want to do what they want to do. Even though they know it's not what God wants, they still do it anyway. You need to be prepared to worship. Come to the house of God prepared to worship. Instead of coming in half asleep and half backslid, come in here ready. Abraham had the fire, the wood, and the knife. He was prepared to worship. He knew he didn't have the know what? He knew in his mind that God would provide an offering.
Amen.
He knew that. We got to be prepared daily by reading, by living holy and being obedient to the Word of God. Holiness is a thing now people don't think anything about. There's so much wickedness, so much sin, so much things going on in people's lives, even in children of God's lives. Amen. They're living a life of a double life, and they don't worship, and they wonder why God ain't moving in their life or in the lives of the church. We've got to be teachable. You got to learn, take advice, listen to the man of God, listen to church, listen to the Word of God, be teachable. Because we need to learn what God's trying to tell us and get across to us. When we're in this valley or in this detour of submission, we need to listen and learn and do what God's trying to teach us to do. Instead of turning our ear and our heart to it, we need to do it. Because you know Ezra did that. Ezra verse 7 and verse 10, he said, for Ezra had prepared his heart to seek the law in God and do it, and to teach in Israel statutes and government. He prepared his heart to seek God. And that's what we have to do. Worship also, talk about worship, Abraham there at the altar, go to worship, that's the type of worship, you go to sacrifice, you that burnt offering, the type of worship. Abraham also, worship also involves conduct. Let me tell you what, the attitude of faith got to be followed by the application and the action of our faith. Our action of our faith. In other words, take it and apply it to your life, and not only let it be an application, but let it be a part of your daily life into action. You put it into actions. You know what? This is true. The one you love the most is the one you'll worship. Do you know that? That's why God told him, offer up Isaac. He was proven. He was tested. Had that son that he was, I can imagine the day that Isaac was born, how Abraham rejoiced that Isaac was born. He'd been waiting for his son to be born. He was precious to that little boy. Many times played with it there in front of the tent. They had a good time, and now that was very precious to him. God was asking him to offer it to him. And you know why Abraham didn't want to do it? Abraham did it. Why did he do it, you reckon? You know what he knew? If Isaac did die that day, that God still had the power to raise him up. I got scripture to back it up to it. And Hebrews chapter 11 and 17. By faith Abraham, when he tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son, of whom it said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Accounting that God was able to raise him up even from the dead, which also he received him in the figure. He said, you know what? God, he had already. See, God had already made promises to Isaac. He knew God was going to keep that promise. He knew, hey, if he died on this altar, God will raise him back up again. He knew that. And he believed God. He trusted God. Sometimes God allows us to go through detour submission, and he may want what is more precious to us. He wants to see what's most precious to us. Him or something else. And he'll take that very thing that he knows in your heart that is real precious to you, and he'll see how much more precious he is to you than that thing. That's where you get angry. Worship involves completeness. It involves the whole person, soul, mind, and body, emotion. Jesus rebuked the Pharisees that day because they didn't do it. Over here in Matthew 15 says, ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophet you of Satan. These people draw nigh to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Even God said over in Deuteronomy 6:5, He wants us to love us with all our hearts, mind, and soul. Deuteronomy 6:5 said, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy soul and all thy might. He had already yielded his mind to God, Abraham did. He said, God's got me, I'm submitted to him whatever he wants. He submitted his mind because what God had asked him to do was a very difficult thing for him to do. But what kind of faith do I see, attitude I see in Abraham? One who was willing to say, God, whatever you do, that whatever you tell me to, that I'll do. Bar any nothing else in my life, the most important thing to me in my life is to be pleasing to you and do your will. Too many times people spend more time fighting against the will of God instead of seeking the will of God. Because sometimes the will of God interfere with our plan, interfere with our normalcy, and to get us out of our comfort zone on it.
Amen.
And that's why people fight it so hard, you see. So we see here, talk about submission. God taught Abraham a lot of. Abraham was put under a fine microscope of the detour of submission. Worship involves cleanliness. That means confess those sins every day. Don't wait till Sunday morning to do it. Because they're locked, bailed up during the week. You need to get rid of it every day. No, preacher, I don't see them one time a week. Yeah, one time, all the time, every time, amen. But also we don't see this. We see here what happened. Abraham answered Isaac. His answer was one of faith and obedience. As we read a while ago, he said, Abraham, my son, verse 8, God will provide himself a lamb for the burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And when they come to the place which Abraham told him, Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood and altar. And bound Isaac his son, laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, took the knife to slay his son. Abraham answered Isaac with complete confidence in God. He said, my son, God will provide a sacrifice. That word provide, you know what that word provide means here? Somebody said it means God will see to it and take care of it. Amen. He'll provide. Amen. When we do what God says, He'll provide for us all the time. He'll provide for our needs. So many times people struggle. People go through some hard times. When if you just listen to God and obey God and submit to God, they'd see a whole lot better things happen in their life. But they always fight the will of God. They always got one foot, like the old saying goes, one foot trying to put one foot in the world and one foot in the church, and it ain't going to work like that. God is going to have to go have He's going to be Lord of all, Lord, not Lord at all. Amen. So we see here, friend, Abraham answered Isaac with obedience and faith. When he took on, can you see this, brother? Can y'all see this? After he got that altar built, he took that son. He bound him and they tied him up. Now you got to realize Isaac was probably a pretty good sized boy. He might have been a pretty good sized boy. He could might have overpowered his daddy if he would have been disobedient. But Isaac, Abraham had confidence in, Isaac had confidence, Abraham had confidence in his father, but Isaac had confidence in Abraham, his father. Because he knew his daddy loved God. See, the reason a lot of parents, a lot of mamas and daddies can't win their youngins to God because the young ain't got no confidence in them. And that's exactly what it is here. He didn't fight his daddy, he just laid down. Ain't you glad that the Bible said that Jesus laid out his life for his friends? He said, no man taketh my life, but I lay it down and take it up again. Abraham showed one thing, that he was willing to let go of what he had to, even though it was very precious to him. I don't know about y'all, someone told me, he said, if they say you had to let one of your girls die for no reason, I don't think I could do it. I'm not honest. You say, well, I could. You ain't never been faced with it. How you do? But Abraham, he was faced with it. He knew that God did not make mistakes. We ever get it in our mind when God tells us to do something, we know as well as God, He ain't making a mistake. He's trying to help us. He shows us and learn to teach us something. Let us have a teachable script to listen to. Let me tell you what, we need to see this tonight. He was dependent upon God. That's what we should. The Bible said, He says, trust in the Lord all your heart, lean not your understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, He shall direct your path. He said, lean on Him. We're going to be faced with things we don't understand. God's going to tell you things to do you don't want to do. But if you submit it, God's going to get you that detour of submission. What do you say, Lord? Whatever you say, I'll do. Lord, you tell me to do it. I don't understand how it's going to turn out, but I'm going to trust you that you'll help me do it. See, some people don't mind doing a little God long as the ending's a happy ending. But what if God tells you to do something and it don't look like it's going to be a happy ending? It didn't look like a happy ending for Isaac. I thought Abraham. Because Abraham had no way of knowing that God was going to stop him before he killed his son. And I believe in my heart, even though Abraham did not slay Isaac, he did offer it to God in his heart. He's willing to do what God told him to do. Abraham showed one thing. He showed he was dedicated to God. And he heard that promise of that angel. That angel told him. What did he tell the preacher? He told him, first of all, we see Abraham passed that test with flying colors. Abraham showed he feared God by being obedient. And God provided a sacrifice with that ram called a thick. And I've often used this illustration, I use it again. Now the Bible said him and his son walked toward the mountain. And I can see here come Abraham and Isaac up this side of the mountain. And I see that ram coming up the other side in the middle of the top. The will of God, it always come together. But Abraham, see here, God promised Abraham He would bless him because of his obedience. When you're in a detour, God still provides. He still can and will provide. He told us that I'm going to bless the descendants of your descendants. And we see that throughout the year, God has used the Jewish people. Some of them have been major contributions to agriculture and medicine and all. God has used them. You see, I'll tell you one thing. God may lead you on a detour that'll bring a great blessing to you later on in life if you listen to Him. Even the Bible says it's better to beg than sacrifice. That's the Word of God. It says here in 1 Samuel 15:22, and Samuel said, hath the Lord as great a light in burnt offerings and sacrifice as obeying the voice of the Lord. Behold, it's better to sacrifice and to hearken. It's better to obey than to sacrifice and to hearken than to fat rams. So He put him on the detour of submission. If you won't submit to God, you're not going to never be blessed with God. If you ain't going to submit to authority, you won't. If a person refuses, if a person will not submit to authority, they will not submit to God. These blessings, this detour, blessing of submission. That's why the Bible says, resist the devil, he'll flee from you. That ain't the whole Bible, that ain't the whole Scripture, he says. The Bible says, submit yourself unto God, resist the devil, he'll flee from you. Submission. That submitting to God said, Lord, I don't know what comes my way. I don't know who owes tomorrow, Lord. I don't know about tomorrow, but I know who owes tomorrow. And I trust you. That word faith, that acronym, every letter, F-A-I-T-H, forsaking all, I trust Him.
Amen.
And that's what it's all about. Yes, sir. Trust and obey. There's no other way. To be happy in Jesus is trust and obey. Our Father, we love you tonight. Thank you for that to be here.